Ms. Crouch, you've said legislators should cut their own pay and adjust health and pension eligibility in order to lead by example. Do you think that example would be enough to convince state employee unions to come to that table and make some of those broader concessions and find greater savings?
I think we should all lead by example, but once again I go back to when CBAC and the line employees came and they made concessions in health care, they made concessions in pensions, they took 3 years of hard zeros, and we were promised that we would see $1.1 billion in savings over 20 years. What I've read from the comptroller's office is that actual health care expenditures have increased and not decreased. So once again, they came when it was a shared sacrifice. But what I'm seeing is when the governor's appointed staff are getting double-digit raises, you can't go back to the line worker and say, give us more shared sacrifice. So I think that eventually it will happen, and I think truly leading by example, where everybody takes hard zeros, where everybody says they're in this together and really mean it. Right now, I talk to state employees all the time, and there is no trust. Without trust, you can't work together.
Senator Osten, she gets 90 seconds.
I believe that the question was revolving around the legislative pay. Mr. Cox?
Right, and sort of the idea of leading by example.
Okay, so in this last budget, we did take all non-union employees and capped everybody's pension. We also increased health care co-payments for all non-union employees in the whole state, not just in the legislature, but all across the board on anything that we could address those issues. So we also took back the raises that the governor originally planned to give, and when UConn came through with the excessive raises, we immediately contacted them and disagreed with them, and several of those raises were overturned.
You said you capped pensions for non-union employees, is that?
That's correct, okay. In the last budget.
All right, thank you. Ms. Crouch?
Well, actually, the IRS has said that Connecticut has been out of the law because the IRS said that public pensions had to be capped at $185,000 a year, and for many years, Connecticut allowed state workers to collect more than that. Even though the raises may have been taken back this year, because remember, this is an election year. Last year, they weren't. So we keep playing this dance. It's an election year, so we say all this stuff, and then it's not an election year, we do other things. Once again, there isn't trust there.
Thank you. Next question to Senator Osten.